Hey, good afternoon. My name is Marjorie Young, and I am interviewing Anastasia Contos, who was the business partner of Elaine Longwater. Elaine, of course, founded Longwater and Associates, an advertising agency for over 40 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, over 40 years. She was such a trailblazer, and we both really wanted to capture Elaine's life. So, um, anyhow, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you the first question. Who was Elaine Longwater?
Oh, that's a good question. She was an incredibly gifted, intelligent um, person. Um, Probably one of the brightest people I've ever met. And
Agreed.
at the
Yeah.
same time, she was very unique. I mean, she never met a stranger. You know, she opened many doors for that had never been opened before. But the biggest thrill she got was taking people through them with her. And that made her really special, but also very beloved.
So, what year did Elaine start Longwater? And it
Nine,
was called Longwater and Associates
no, it was Longwater ampersand company, Longwater and company.
and Company.
Yeah.
And you guys focused on advertising.
Yes. Well, we did it all.
Yes,
We
you
did
did definitely.
marketing plans, we did PR campaigns, we did um,
Video.
corporate communications, video.
And all around the world. I had always heard of Elaine, and I remember meeting you and Elaine out at the Georgia ports when the vice president came out. And I remember walking up on the bus, and there was Elaine. I was like, oh my God, are you Elaine Longwater? You're so iconic. I remember shaking her hands, and you're just looking at me like, what's going on? But yeah, she was iconic. And
Very much so. No, you actually asked me before you approached her if that was a
really,
Longwater, and I said, yes, it is.
yeah, that was a thrill. I remember her sitting there. So, I mean, the name was always around. I'm also in the media world, not advertising, but so tell us some of the clients that you had here locally in Savannah.
Oh my goodness. Well, the Georgia Ports Authority, which is really international but a local,
Right.
Colonial Group,
Hmm.
Turicamo, Seco, you name, Fines, um,
Levy's also. Levy's.
not Levy's, hang on a
Oh
sec,
no, Lady Jane.
Lady Jane.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah. The Ossabaw Foundation, we did a lot of pro bono work too. The Mediation Center, um, Neff McIntosh, he had a ship chandler business. Um, Landport, ACS, Atlanta Container Services. Um,
Those are all types of clients that you would expect men to
right.
handle. How did you and Elaine get into those types of businesses, especially back then?
Well, there were a couple of things that happened. Number one, Elaine was a native Savannah, and she also had a very deep voice. So when she would call for an appointment, they thought she was a guy, so she got into places that other people or other women would have a hard time getting into. Um, One of our Japanese clients said to me one day, she said, if Elaine Longwater wanted to call God, she'd just pick up the phone and call her. I mean, she said her whole attitude was the only thing they can tell you is no. That's the worst thing that they can tell you. So, but when she came, she had been gone from Savannah for a period of time and had been in Europe. And when she came back, Albert and Marjorie Scardino had started the Savannah Gazette. And Albert asked Elaine to, head their advertising division. And she got back in touch with a lot of people in business she'd been in touch with in her younger years. And of course, two of those ended up being key. One was Ernest Carter, and the other was Thomas McGoldrick. And that's really, I mean, when she opened, and it all happened at once. She was opening Longwater when she left the Gazette. In her brain, she said, if I'm going to work this hard, I'm not going to work for peanuts. I'm going to work for myself, and she started her own business. So it all came together, and they ended up being two clients. And Ernest, actually, she asked him to teach her the language of the industry, which he did. And Thomas, knowing Elaine's work for Fines and Lady Jane and many others, knew her creative self. And he said to me, she'd come in my office. I would tell her what was going on. And within a day, she'd come back and it was with a target, exactly what I needed. She had that creative sense, and she loved it. She really loved what she did.
Where do you think she got the creativity? Were her parents creative?
Her mother was an artist. And taught in the Chatham County school system until she retired. So she was exposed to the arts through her mother and her grandmother, her mother's mother.
Okay. What did her father do?
He had an appliance business where he sold appliances. He and his brother, I think he was one of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up managing properties for Elaine's mother's father, Mr. Goldberg, Sam Goldberg. But he was the athlete.
Okay.
Mrs. Longwater was the artist.
So she was exposed to it as a young child. So Elaine was born in Savannah. Do you know what hospital?
Telfair.
Okay, what year?
1943, February. All right.
And then what school did she go to when she was little? Do you know?
She went to, it's over by Jacob G. Smith. I can't believe I've forgotten the name of the school. It's still there. And I think now it is a Montessori school for the school system or something.
Okay.
And she knew, I mean, Thomas, Randy Booker, all of her age group, I mean, they were all right there.
So Thomas McGoldrick too? They all went to school together?
I think so. I know Thomas ended up going to private school, but I think he started there, as a kid. because he came from a big family as well.
So where did she go to middle school, and where did she go to high school?
She went to Savannah High, and at that time, I don't know that it wasn't elementary school to seventh grade and eighth grade to 12th at high school. The middle school thing kind of came even after I was in in school.
Okay.
So she went to Savannah High and, skipped a couple of grades and graduated early at 16.
And then what happened? Where did she go from there?
She was accepted into a special program at Harvard. And at that time, Harvard didn't accept women. This was the first group of women they had there. And then the next year, they made it formal. So she was in that first group of women that went to Harvard.
Gosh, what did she study there? Do you remember any stories that she told about Harvard?
Oh, yeah. She talked about, and I had the privilege of going back there with her.
Wow.
And so she took me on a tour, and, she talked about riding the train to New York and then on to Boston.
From Savannah.
Yes. And then she talked about listening to Joan Baez on Widener Library steps.
Wow.
And she also talked a lot about one of her professors was a really noted philosopher, and his last name was Demos. He was Greek. And so she told me a lot about that. And at that point, she thought she was going to go into medicine, when she first went off.
She's so smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, she was the only one from the South. So, that she got asked a lot of questions and to speak a lot. And I said, but you don't have a Southern accent. She said, well, to them I did, and she talked about, her roommate who, the last name was Rosenwald. I think her father or grandfather did the Sears catalog.
Oh, yeah.
And, I asked her, I said, you skip these grades and you end up at Harvard. Was it challenging for you? And she said, not especially. It wasn't not challenging. It's just that I didn't feel like I was, that I had to work extra hard to keep up, even though most of my classmates came from, exclusive private schools.
Wow.
And I think that says a lot, to tell you the truth.
A lot. Oh, yeah. So after she left Harvard on the timeline, what happened next? Where did she go?
She came back to Savannah.
Okay.
And initially, she was selling advertising at WTOC. And then she went to the Savannah Morning News. And from the Savannah Morning News.
Was she also designing ads or just selling? Or back then, did you do both?
Well, for TOC, she did both. She actually would film on the spot. Because, TOC's customer base was a lot of rural businesses. Oh, yeah. And so she'd take a camera and go out and write it, film it, and send it in, With the Savannah News Press is where she first worked with Kitty Strozier, who ended up the creative director for Longwater and Company. But she would call Kitty from the road, and they'd have a little creative thing, and then Kitty had put it together by the time she got back to the morning news.
Good
You know,
partnership there. Good, the dynamic duo. So
right? And she
yeah.
would pay Kitty extra, because Kitty was in the art department there, and you had to do as it came in, right? But if Elaine needed it, Kitty would, put it ahead, and Elaine would pay her part of the commission.
Smart
Yeah.
business. Yeah. Okay. So from the Savannah Morning News, then where did she go?
After the Savannah Morning News, she and a couple of women from here started an advertising agency called Images. And that's where she really did the fashion and textiles, because she was going in and out of the textile district in New York. Their partnership kind of fell apart, and Elaine was, wondering what she was going to do. And that's when Jake Fine called her and asked her he asked her what she was doing, and she said, I'm sitting here staring out into space. And he said, how about, taking some of that space and do my advertising? So, and he also knew her. He knew her talent. She had modeled for him when she was a child, and she actually worked with him for a little while as a salesperson when she was in high school, so he knew her,
Right.
And he her gift. So, and then,
so what high school did she go to? Sorry, I just want to make sure I capture all that. Do you remember?
Yeah, Savannah High.
Oh, I'm sorry. I already asked that. Sorry. Okay. So, all right. So do you remember the first campaign that she created for Fines?
Oh my goodness. I remember that the lady that whose family owns a restaurant downtown was the model. Yeah, I can see it. I don't know what you want me to.
It'd just be interesting.
Yeah, it was really elegant, because it wasn't. She did it in sepias. It was a really gorgeous ad, and it was, for I want to say fall ensembles. I mean, it was really beautiful.
Okay, so she was encouraged by her friend who owned Fines to do the marketing, and then did she start Longwater, or?
No, she didn't start Longwater until 1980, and we're,
how old was she when she started it?
Well, she was 37.
Cool. Okay.
And she.
And then, did you meet her that year, or?
I didn't. No, I had actually met her in Athens, because when I heard her voice, I mean, you don't forget.
Right.
At the Athens Observer, where she worked at that time, because she left here and went to Athens first before she went to Europe. and then when I met her, I connected with her again in 1986. And the minute we met, it was like we had known each other
Forever.
for eons. I mean, we both just burst out laughing. I mean, it was immediate. Um, and it went from there, you know.
So let me go back to the timeline. So after Fines, what happened next? She went to Europe or Athens?
Athens.
Okay. And
She got a job with the Athens Banner Herald first.
okay.
She was their top salesperson, and it was time promotion, and the guy who was head of the Athens Banner Herald at the time gave it to a guy who hadn't produced as much as she did. So she left and went to their competitor, and then outsold them at the Athens Observer.
Who was the competitor? Where did she go? Do you remember?
Observer.
Okay. Okay. And then she stayed there for how long?
A couple of years, and then she went to Europe. Which was a dream of hers. You know, she had
Right.
wanted to go to Europe when she could spend a year there, and she did in France and Italy, and went to Cortona. And in Athens, she met a sculptor we both knew, who was at Cortona at the time. So she had a place to stay, and with she and Paris, because Paris went with her youngest daughter, who was 4 at the time they went to Europe.
Oh, so wait, let's get the timeline of when she was married and kids too.
I don't think Elaine would want that.
Okay. All right.
To tell you the truth, because she didn't stay married that long, and let's not go there. You know, I mean,
yeah,
I don't. That's
okay. So now she's in Europe for a year. Did she work over there, or did she?
She worked some in Germany.
Okay.
At a plant that restored antiques, and
wow.
Yeah, and how she got that was Jim Atwood and Inga Atwood had put her in touch with these people, and Jim had let her use his car if she would bring back some of the restored antiques, which she did. She just didn't know what they were until after she got through customs.
I bet that's a story.
You know, it was Nazi daggers.
Oh my gosh.
It was Nazi dagger molds. And Elaine just had a heart attack, you know, but
she was raised Jewish, right?
Yeah, she is Jewish. And she from Germany she went to France, and she stayed near one of the universities. And she met a lot of people. And, my favorite name that she always mentioned was Mello Magna Fiesta. I thought that was the most wonderful name. And
who was
that was his name, Mello Magna Fiesta.
Oh my gosh.
And then she went on to Italy, and then of course came back to the States. And that's when she hooked, she and Marjorie and Albert were starting the Georgia Gazette.
Mm-hmm.
So
I sent you an article from that ran in the Washington Post. Did you see that?
Yes.
Gosh. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So she came back to the States about what year?
That would have been 79.
Okay.
She started, well, no, it'd have to be before then. I think they started the Gazette in 76. I think it was 76 because she worked for them for a while, and then that's when she decided that if she was going to work that hard for peanuts, she was going to work for herself. And that's when she started Longwater and Company.
Do you remember any stories around her starting it, or why she named it that, or where was the first office, if she had an office?
Well, she started it out of her house, and then when she came back to the States from Europe is when she moved on to Burnside. She actually, her house she rented came from her husband at the time's family.
Okay.
And she rented it until 86, and then she bought it. But she worked out of her house, and her father at the time was building townhouses on Tatnall, and she bought one, and her brother Barry bought one, and that's when she moved Longwater and Company to Tatnall Street.
I didn't realize her father built that. I actually got to visit that.
Wow. Yes, she did.
Yeah.
He did. He built up that whole those, I think there are 4 of them.
Yeah.
And Lane and Barry had the 2 ending, she and he was on the other.
So how did she decide on the name Longwater, and how did she decide on the logo? Are there any stories behind that?
Story within itself.
Yes.
The name, I think that she wanted her name on it. I think that,
yeah.
And then and Company, she thought was just as the company was just as important to her as the Longwater.
Okay.
And we all used to say we're the company and that's Longwater. As far as the logo for the first, I would say 5 years, she didn't have one. It was just her name, just the name of the company. And
right.
then we had been asked to present to United Arab and in New York, and she and I went up, and she was a little nervous about it. I mean, she even went to Mr. Nichols, who was then the executive director of the port, and she said, George, he says, you just got to think of them as customers, and approach it from that point of view, which she did. And then with a name like Longwater, they wanted to know if she was an American Indian. And she said, I'll never forget this. She said, well, I have a canoe, and so we came back and we were telling Kitty that story. And the next day, Kitty came in with the Indian.
The logo, and it stayed. Yeah.
And we all laughed. It was so true because she didn't hesitate. She said, well, I have a canoe, and I just went,
of course. So she started the company in 1986. Is that right?
No, the company started in 1980.
Oh, in 1980. Okay.
80 and 81. It was the end of 80 and 81.
And she worked out of her home, then moved into Tatnall. And she stayed for how many years? How many decades?
Oh, my goodness. Until
right after COVID, right?
Yeah. until 2020.
Right.
I'd say 2019, really. We moved out. That's when, and the reason we left downtown was because our taxes, property taxes, jumped from like 2,500 to 7,000. I mean, it was getting outrageous downtown. So
Would the Stevens Day bill would have helped? The
not
Stevens.
for a business.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So, what are some of the campaigns that? Well, no. Let me ask this question: when did you finally meet her? What year?
1986, January of 86.
Okay. And you said it was like you knew each other right off. Where did you guys meet? Tell me about that.
And Chatham Murray. We had a mutual friend in Athens, Chatham Murray, and Chatham was coming to Savannah. And at the time, I was in and out of the country doing research for my master's and also for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And Chatham wanted to visit my project. And so she asked Elaine to get in touch with me. And so Elaine just called, Elaine doesn't know a stranger. She just called me up. And I said, well, sure. I said, where do you want to meet? And she said, just come to my office, which is what I did.
Okay.
That's how we met.
And then I guess you got your degree and then went to work for Elaine. You guys worked together.
Elaine was embezzled. And
oh God.
And so, I mean, things happen fortuitously,
Mm-hmm.
At the time, one of my mother's brothers was vice president of Georgia State University in Atlanta, but had been dean of the College of Business at Georgia State. And so I went through her books and I called Uncle George and I said, I know what I'm looking at if I'm looking at, environmental data, but I just know there's something wrong here. And he said, well, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to call Athens. I want you to take the books to Athens and meet with Dr. Flewellen. Well, I had not a clue who Dr. Flewellen was. So Elaine and I walk in and we were at the head of the business school at Georgia,
wow.
And he was lovely, I have to tell you. And I showed him what he said. Well, you're absolutely right. He said, I said, well, there's not much difference. Energy budget is an energy budget. It doesn't matter whether it's breaths or oxygen or money, And so we ended, she had to call in the police. I mean, we found credit cards in her mother's name that this lady had done. And
oh my gosh.
What had happened is that her in-house bookkeeper was embezzling from her.
Did that person go to jail?
Well, it was a white collar crime and she was supposed to pay restitution, but never did. We had so much to overcome with the embezzlement that's where our energy went, was in stabilizing the company. Because see, her father had monitored the books up until the time he got sick. And if you looked at her books from the time he got sick until she asked me to look at it, you could see, he was no longer there, and, so we just concentrated on making the company financially stable.
Right. What would you say was the number one project you did that you remember that really set the Longwater name?
Oh my goodness, there isn't one. Um, I mean, I could probably name one for each client.
Yeah.
I mean, we of an unusual or massive production was putting on the press event in New York at the UN for the president of MOL from Tokyo. That was a massive production, but
That was a carrier, a tanker. What
no,
kind
it was
of
a
MOL?
well, it was the president from Tokyo was over the bulk division and the container division and every other division, but we mainly worked with the container division, and we did some work for the bulk division. But they, when Elaine got into international transportation, which is really where she made a tremendous difference, the industry itself was moving from a regulatory market environment to a market driven marketing environment. All of a sudden, all these shipping lines had to start competing with each other. And, we did the port. Mitsui called the Journal of Commerce. Who did the ports ads? Georgia Ports. And then we'd get a call from MOL. Then we'd get a call from, United Arab would call them. Who did X, Y, and Z? And then we'd get, that's the way it went.
Mm-hmm.
People wanted to know who, these companies, particularly companies that needed an American face to do business here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And
a lot of this is before the internet too, so it's super duper word of mouth.
Yeah. Well, they would call, the Journal of Commerce at that time was the major press mouthpiece for international transportation.
Were there any other women in the industry doing what you guys were doing?
Not then. There were after that, thank goodness. And
trailblazers. I mean, you were probably the first women.
Yes, it was Elaine and all of us, but you've really got to put the emphasis is really on Elaine, because like I said to you, she could walk in anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I watched her go into corporate boardrooms and they'd be so stiff, and by the time we left, they were all laughing and their ties were loose.
Mm-hmm.
She knew she was who she was,
Yeah.
and she had a lot of chutzpah, and you have to, the credit really lies with her. We were fortunate enough to go through those doors with her, but she opened them, Marjorie, no doubt in my mind.
Wow.
Not one.
How do you want people to remember Elaine? I mean, she was a trailblazer. She was the first woman to open doors in a very male world in the shipping industry. Probably the first.
We climbed. I'll never forget one time MOL wanted a shot from the deck of their ship going under the Savannah Bridge. We climbed up the Jacob's ladder onto the container ship, and I'll never forget that captain's face when he saw these three women coming over the side. If you fell, you were going to fall between the container ship and the tugboat. I mean, there was nothing we didn't do. And I mean,
Were you
Go ahead.
carrying cameras? You must have been carrying cameras up the ladder too.
Exactly. And we didn't think anything about it. That's what's hilarious. The only time she and Kitty and I were doing a photo shoot at Mar Terminals in New York, and Don Macbeth, who was head of marketing there, said to me, I want some shots from the top of the container crane. And so I said, well, okay, but how do I get up there? He said, you have to climb the ladder.
Oh,
Well, I turn around and Kitty and Elaine are gone. I mean, and I'm standing there. I said, oh, okay. So I climbed the ladder up there. And when I got up there, Don said to me, we have an elevator, but this was your initiation. I said, oh. But all I can tell you is that I didn't look anywhere except to hold on and go up one step at a time,
Gosh, did Kitty and Elaine take the elevator?
No, they hid. They didn't want to climb the ladder. And then, so then I was put in another machine that I got all greasy. And while I'm in there, I get a call from Jim Galligan, who was head of marketing for MOL. He said, you got to come here now because I've got to have this release out this afternoon. I said, okay, but I'm full of grease. He said, I don't care. Well, when he saw me, he said, what have you been doing? I said, I was in a straddle carrier. He went, oh my goodness. He said, well, how were they so clean? I said, ask them. They hid.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So, oh gosh. Okay. Gosh.
They figured if I could scale 60-meter cliffs on Mona, I could do that. We had a ball. I mean, and, we'd get tired. And I'll never forget one time Elaine said to us, she said, has anybody seen my sunglasses? And Kitty and I looked at each other because they were on her face. I mean, she was looking at them. And we said, Elaine, you got them on. We just, we'd get tired, but it was a lot. We had a lot of fun. I mean, and it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and the people we dealt with were from all over the world or had lived all over the world. They were interesting and
Educated.
I mean, even with United Arab, I mean, they invited us to their global meeting in New York, and Elaine and I were the only women. And when we spoke, everybody just listened, and they were just as lovely to us. I mean, it was unbelievable. And MOL, the same. I mean, we went to Tokyo to the global headquarters.
Gosh.
It was, but I have to say, there are just not many people, male or female, that I have ever met or heard about or read about that really got so much joy out of opening doors and taking people through them with her. I mean, usually, in the sciences, it was so competitive that it was awful. And I haven't seen it in I haven't seen it in another person like
Wow.
she was. I haven't. And she and Thomas stayed close all through the years,
Right.
because he went to MOL and for a while before he came back to Savannah. He was in the World Trade Center. We'd go there and ride up one side and see these clients and ride up the other side and see these other clients. But that was, and I don't know how to explain it. We were at Mar Terminals, and Brian Marr was upset because he couldn't get in to he had a client coming to town, and he couldn't get into some restaurant in New York. And Elaine said, well, what restaurant is it? And so he told her. She picked up the phone, she dialed the number, and she asked for the waiter who adores her and said, I need for you. And Brian Mars said, you're from Savannah. How are you? And she said, well, that's one of my favorite restaurants, and I know all the waiters.
I love that story.
You know, and she
Wow.
got it. It was just Il Molino's.
Wow. Wow. How do you think her kids will remember her
Oh,
as a businesswoman?
I have no idea. Professionally, I really, the only child that was around when she had a lawn watering company was Paris. The other two were 10 and 9 years older than Paris. So they were already at college when lawn watering company really was doing all this.
Let me ask. Yeah, go ahead.
So I really don't know.
Okay.
I've never asked them because usually that isn't what the topic of conversation is, I mean, I have,
So Elaine, let's see. What would you, if you had to recap who Elaine was in a minute, how would you do that? Professionally.
Well, I mean, she was one of the most brilliant, creative. The way she saw things was so unique. And her ability to communicate it was second to none. And she truly loved people, and it came across. And she really cared about her clients. She really did. She wanted them to succeed, and they knew it.
Yeah.
Um,
What business advice would you say really helped Elaine the most in business? A lot of it was innate and with her ability.
I tell her she could sell a rusty nail to Dale Levy. That was a joke between us, but I really meant it. If she thought that rusty nail was valuable, if she thought her idea would help the client, she would a little bit insistent, but knew how to do that in a way that didn't offend anybody.
Okay.
She knew how to laugh at herself. She never took herself very seriously, on the surface, but you knew underneath that chutzpah, that drive, it's that kind of stuff's innate, I think.
The first time I met her, she dressed like a rock star. I mean, beautiful clothing. And when I started to learn that she was involved with, global shipping containers and logos and around the world, I was like, I would have guessed she was in the fashion industry, but she dressed.
Well, she, for a period of time, I guess she and her brother had a clothing store.
What? I never heard that.
Yes. And she got tired. Her brother played golf so much that she told her father, I am not doing this. I'm the one doing everything. And but she'd always had like I said, she modeled for Jake Fine.
Well, where was this store? Was it in Savannah when she was in high school, or
I don't know how old she was or where that really fit in
on the timeline? Yeah.
on the timeline. That may have been the first thing she did when she came back from Harvard. Um,
Wow.
I really don't. And both of them are not here, so I'm trying to think of somebody who would know because Elaine was 11 years older than 9 and 11 years older siblings, so I don't know that they would remember.
So, okay, you guys met and then worked together for all those years. And do you have any stories? I know you have a lot, but one that you would like to share? A, a special moment about anything?
God, there's so many. And most of them are hilarious. I mean, of situations we get in.
I would love to hear a few.
Oh, when the earthquake hit San Francisco,
The yeah.
and it hit Oakland, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
Well has had a container terminal, tray pack in Oakland. So they called and wanted us out there to photograph. And what had happened, the earthquake had separated the wharf from the cement. And they decided that they wanted a shot of the ship leaving the terminal from the ground level of the terminal itself. And so Elaine and Kitty got on the tugboat, and I was on the terminal. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, well, how am I going to get on the tugboat? The ship leaves. And so they said, well, you're going to jump onto the tugboat.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. And
Oh, gosh.
that water is so cold. So I looked down at that tugboat and I said, I want the biggest, strongest man around,
Oh, gosh.
catch me. So I jumped, and then we followed the ship out. And that was really something because they were on one side and I was on the other. And we really got some great shots.
It's like behind the scenes in a movie production, what you have to go through to get the final product.
Oh, Jesus. We did everything from in Charleston. We got them to put us on, in Charleston Harbor, these buoys that are on these cement platforms that are up above the ocean. So you have to climb on the platform. We got up there too. I mean,
They're moving, aren't they?
no, they're stationary, but you're going up a ladder, and if you fall, I mean, you're going to get wet. Number one, but you're next to a tugboat, which has a big,
motor. Yeah.
yeah.
So it was you doing.
Do what we did,
No, no kidding. I didn't even realize that. Tell me another one. They're really fun to hear. And so it was usually the three of you and Kitty and Elaine?
Elaine. Yep. To client presentations, it was mainly me and Elaine. And then photo shoots, it was all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of. Oh, I I can tell you it is so Elaine and how she looked at things. MOL had changed heads, North American heads. And so we had to represent to them. And when we got through, we got on the elevator, and Elaine said, "You know what? We need to go get another client." And so she called a friend of hers or someone she knew who was at the Port of New York. And he said, "Well, I think our terminals is looking for something." And that's what we did. We went over, and that was her way of handling that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
We went over tomorrow, we presented to them, and they hired us. And so did MOL. So it all
The
worked.
new MOL person.
Huh?
The new MOL person that you had.
Hired us too. So it was, that's the way she would, would deal with things, if, you move ahead, don't look back.
So, she was always working. Did she have any hobbies that would help calm her down, or?
Elaine was a fabulous black and white photographer.
Yeah.
Fabulous. She, I've been fortunate enough to see her negatives, and, she has shots of lemurs on St. Catherine's when it snowed down here once. I mean, she's got some incredible photography. And there was a whole group of artists that were here at the time that they were all very close friends. There was Bill Durrance, there was Jack Lee, there was Nancy Heffernan, Mary Alice Huggins, Gary Miller. I mean, and they were all real tight, and gifted artists, every one of them.
What would they do together? Would they?
They had a band.
Wait, what?
They had a band.
Elaine was in a band?
Oh, yeah. It was like the No Band or something like that. I mean, it was a goofy thing, that they played spoons and, that kind of thing. It wasn't real formal.
Well, what did she sing? What was her?
I want her to sing. That was one thing she couldn't do, is carry a tune. I used to say, "Well, don't worry about it. You can draw,"
Yeah.
But
do you remember did she play an instrument, or what did she do in the No Band?
I think she played spoons. They had spoons and glasses and, tambourines. I mean, it wasn't, it was for fun. It wasn't a duty thing, but they were all, Mickey Yeomans was in there, he was in that group. Not the music group, because Mickey really is talented musically, but he was that artist group that was around at that time.
Okay.
He was involved with as well. And I'm sure
I like that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I hope I hadn't left anybody out. I know it was Bill and Jack, Mary Alice and Nancy. Mickey. I'm sure if I've left somebody out, I'm sorry. I'll let you know if it comes to me.
So what other hobbies did she have?
well, her yard. I mean, she was quite a gardener, and by gardener, I mean she didn't. She stayed, made sure that the plants on her property were indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
That was real important to her, and um, that was an outlet for her. Really was. Her photography was her art form. I don't know how much of that was. Um,
What about her knitting? I kind of remember her.
well, she created art with whatever she had around her. I mean, that was. I mean, she truly was an artist, and in fact, she was working on several things um, before she passed, and the ladies at the knitting shop are finishing them for her kids,
Oh
which I
gosh,
thought was really a beautiful tribute. Um,
what was she working on?
one was a sweater I know of, and I think one was a shawl, and I don't know what the other one was. So it was like three or four, maybe. But they're all the women that she would go knit with on Thursdays are finishing them for her.
So I remember hearing a story that her and maybe Jane Fishman flew to Ireland, or was that just by
Yes,
herself?
they went to Wales.
Oh,
They went to Wales together. And, I'm sorry they're not here to tell you stories because I've heard them and they are hilarious. Like, you know, Elaine said it was two Jews, neither one had any sense of direction, getting stuck on roundabouts, not knowing what to do.
and
You know,
driving it on the
but,
other side.
but he said there were angels everywhere. Like they went in a pub and she was going to call and get them to come get the car. And a lady overheard her and said, "You're from the States." She said, "Yes." And she said, "What's the problem?" And so Elaine told her, "I don't know how to maneuver these roundabouts. So after rush hour, and I'm going to take you out and teach you how to drop them."
No, what a great story.
And then they got to Wales and they wanted to stay at a sheep farm. And so they stopped for breakfast at this little place, and um, the man asked them where they were staying, and Elaine said, "Well, we don't have a place to stay at a sheep farm." He said, "No problem. My sister owns one," and he calls.
Oh my gosh.
It was like that their entire time over there. You know, but I think that's just indicative of her experiences when she travels wherever she goes. She never meets a stranger. She doesn't mind saying I can't do something, and um,
She actually traveled the last few years before she died. Didn't she go Turkey
her,
or?
yeah, with her granddaughter Georgia, and they had a ball. I am so glad she did that. Um, and then
What
she came,
made him pick Turkey?
huh?
What made him pick Turkey?
Um, it wasn't. Georgia was going for a wedding of one of
Oh,
her college
yeah.
friends, and Elaine had always wanted to go there to Istanbul, or as we
Hmm.
call it, Constantinople. Um, and so that's why she went. Georgia said, "Go with me." She's
Wow.
a kid. Georgia's a new kid.
So
And
did she also go to Costa Rica with Georgia? I think she did a trip down there. Or am
no,
I
she
having?
went to Mexico with Alicia, her
Yeah,
daughter, and
yeah.
they had a ball.
That was just a few years before she died.
Yes, it was. Probably Mexico was probably 2 years before she died. Now Turkey was a little longer back, but we spent 3 weeks in Japan.
With work.
Well, sort of. We were over there initially we lost one of our Japanese counterparts in New York, and we went over for the Buddhist service and worked too in Tokyo. I mean, MOL took care of us. I mean, we landed one day and all the cherry blossoms bloomed the next. I mean, it was gorgeous. It's an experience. I don't. Have you ever been to Asia? Have you been to Tokyo?
Uh,
I have to tell you, in my life, I mean, it was just sheer gorgeousness everywhere, and such attention to detail that, I mean, I have, Japanese art is so distilled to its essence, and everything about that culture is like that. I mean,
yeah.
of course, I had to talk Elaine out of going to a monk who was, meditating because she wanted to buy his hat. And I said, "Oh, we'll find you a monk's hat," but that man's meditating.
Yeah. Oh
We
my God.
we had and of course, for me, I was very tall comparatively, so we would get in the train. She would position herself with me so she could breathe, because here I was a head taller than everybody, but she was,
Wow.
That is the thing about Elaine Longwater I will never forget, is she had such a presence that I never realized how short she was until I stood next to her. Because her presence, she'd walk in a room and command it.
She about 5 foot?
She was five. She kept saying she used to be 5'7". I have a hard time believing that, but I would think she's about 5'4" and shorter as she got older. But at that time, I was 5'9". So, I mean, you just never realize. Mr. Nichols was like that. I mean, I was taller than he was, but he had that same kind of presence that Elaine did, and that you think they're 10 feet tall. I'm trying to
Really
think.
good.
She often said, "I'll never retire. I'll just fall in a hole." And she was actually on the phone and text a client the afternoon before she passed.
Wow.
She said, "I love what I do, and I love the people I do it with."
Wow. Wow. I always noticed she walked with a cane, and it wasn't just any cane. It looked like a hand carved cane. What's the story behind that cane? It was beautiful.
Yeah, well, she had several, and they were horse heads, and they were carved in the Ukraine. They were
Oh,
Ukrainian canes. Yep,
how did she get them?
over the internet. She was pretty good with finding things like that on the internet.
Right. Right.
I'm trying to think.
So
anything else. Let me look at her.
What was her official diagnosis from when she died? I thought I heard she had COVID like in February, which is odd because we were so out of COVID in 2005. But
Gene Carpenter and Mills Lane the Fourth. They were in that group too.
oh, okay.
List. Sarah Gump. God, I can't believe I forgot Sarah. And Pam Kofer. It's on, that list I made for you and Georgia.
Yes, it's on that list.
It says Circle of Artists.
Maybe just read them again so we have the transcript.
Elaine, Jack Lee, Gary Miller, Nancy Heffernan, Mary Alice Huggins, Gene Carpenter, Mills Lane the Fourth, Bill Durrance, Pam Kofer, Sarah Gump, Kitty Strozier, and Mickey Yeomans.
And what was that group called?
They were artists and they were very close friends.
Oh.
It didn't have a name. They were just real active in the Savannah community at the same time.
What else is on that list that you gave to Georgia that we could talk about on here? Definitely some new things have come up just talking, so that's really fun.
Well, we won a lot of awards, a lot of New York Art Directors Awards for logo design.
Mention that because that will be easier just to get the transcript and then we have it. Go ahead and read it. It's fine to read it too.
Well, the New York Art Directors Award for Best of Show, and that was for the United Arab logo, and also I'm trying to think of I think it wasn't Bill Durrance, or maybe it was. It could have been Bill's logo. We won the West Awards for MOL. A lot of Addies locally, regionally, and nationally, and Creative International Awards, the BMA Awards, Business Marketing Association. We won Graphice International Awards, and Elaine also got the American Advertising Federation Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh my gosh, when did she get that? What year was that?
I want to say,
wow.
I don't remember, but I'll look it up. I remember her saying to me, "Did they think I'm old?" I said, "No."
So she must have got it when she was young. How lovely. What an honor.
Yeah. She just never, she always looked for the positive, I mean.
Always. That's what I remember about her too.
Yeah. And she used to say, about sales that the worst thing they can tell you is no. So that shouldn't stop anybody. And, she really was open to all people, no matter where they came from or what they did, or, she wasn't hung up in, a pedigree of some kind. She just wasn't like that.
At all. I think that's why everybody loved her. She wasn't judgmental
At all.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
at all.
Really good energy.
Yeah. I mean, and we were, I have to say we were a good team because our gifts were different.
Hmm.
And I respected hers and she respected mine. And I trusted her and she trusted me. And that's a big thing in life.
Especially in business, right? Right.
And,
That's huge. How many years did you know Elaine?
40, but probably more than that because I remember her voice from the Athens Observer. Because we were in Athens at the same time, but I was in art school at the time.
I did not know that about you, but that makes sense if you went to work for Elaine, but then you also have the huge science background.
Right. My undergraduate degree's in graphic design, and my graduate degree is in ecological physiology.
Of course.
It's basically math. Um, for me, it wasn't, you know, such a big deal. I mean, when you approach any problem or hypothesis, whether it be, creating a design or looking at the behavior of an animal, the thought process is the same. The palette may be a little different, but the process is exactly the same. I don't know why people think it's
But you're right.
such an existential leap between the two because I didn't find that to be the case. But I'm trying to think of what else.
Do you want to
Oh, just like getting in to see Eva Rubinstein, who was a recluse. And she got her to let her in her apartment and look at her work. I mean,
wow.
that was just, I think that her genuine zest and love for life was something that she had a gift that people could feel it. They knew it was real and sincere.
Authentic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we went, this is the kind of thing she do. We were in California and I wanted to go into Sonoma, drive towards the ocean because of the light is a lot like Italy's.
Mm-hmm.
That amber kind of light.
Yeah.
And we happened upon George Lucas's creative think tank, that ranch.
Oh God.
And Elaine says, and goes with us, Yoko Nebo, a colleague from Japan. And Elaine said, I wonder if we can get in there. I said, I don't know, but I'd sure like to go in there. She said, stop the car. So I stopped the car. She got out. She said, watch this. And she went up to the fence and shook it.
Oh God.
And honey, here come these cars down the driveway. And Elaine said, the man said, we don't allow the public in. And Elaine said, thank God, because we're not the public. And he let us in.
What?
They let us in. She said it was such authority that he just figured she had an appointment with George Lucas, I guess.
Oh, I love that.
And we rode around and walked around, and I mean, it was unbelievable. At night,
Gosh.
Thank God we're not the public. She got us in.
So quick on her feet.
Well, and so sincere, I mean,
right.
She didn't see herself as the public, so why should anybody else?
What else needs to be in this article about Elaine? We covered the timeline. We covered some story. Any other stories? Because stories are really like the one you just told can really help get a feel for what Elaine was like.
Yeah. She was a lot of fun. We had gone, this is a funny story. We had gone to New England and we had gone to Harvard, and then we went to Vinyl Haven by accident. We were really on the way to Newfoundland because we wanted to see the Bay of Fundy. But we ended up going to this blue collar island called Vinyl Haven, Maine. And Robert, Indiana has a studio there, but it's a lobster island. I mean, everybody there, you know, does lobsters. So we get back to, we had a great time there. I mean,
What do you
and
do?
we were staying in a bed and breakfast, but the people liked us so much that we ended up staying longer with them in their house. I mean, it was, you know, just
That's
the
how
way.
she rolled. Yeah.
And then we get back to Logan Airport, and Elaine was trying to pack while we were at the counter. And
Oh
I'm
no.
going, oh, Lord. So she kept saying to the man, these boxes aren't as big as Deltas. And these, you know, markers aren't as good as Deltas. And the man kept saying, Madam, this is US Air. And so finally she looked at me and she said, why is he being so mean to me? I said, Elaine, I said, look behind me at the line. I said, you're the only person that bought an airline ticket and thought you purchased the airport. Well, she started laughing, and oh, it was hysterical. You know, we
Mhm.
finally got through there, but I don't want this in the article, but she started laughing so hard she wet herself, and
Oh, no,
then
no.
we had to go find her clothes, and oh, it was just a mess. But you know, when she realized it, you know, because when we first went up there, it was just us two, but she took the line. She said, "Why is that man being so mean to me?" I said, well, you bought an airline ticket and thought you bought the airport. I said, but look behind me.
Yeah.
And she, oh no, you know.
Wow. What else do you other fun stories?
Oh, we were coming back in from Japan and we had bought a lot of sake for, you know, we were going to MOL's North American headquarters and they had told us what they wanted us to bring them back. And so we get to customs and Lane goes through first and they said, how many bottles of sake do you have? And she said, how many am I allowed? They said two. And she said, well, I have two. And she just walked right on through. So they get to me, and I know I've got more than two. And so they asked me, and so they pull me out of the line.
Gosh.
And then we're standing there, she and I are standing there, and he asked for my ID. And so when I pulled out my ID, he said to me, you're from Georgia? I said, yes. He said, I was trained in Georgia. I said, you were trained at FLETC. And he looked right at me and he said, you can go right on through.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I mean, it was, you know, I also had a FLETC card, so that helped. But, and she said, well, we get back to Savannah and she said, I want Kitty to make me one of those FLETC cards.
Wow. How come you had a Plexi card? Did you guys do work for them?
For my research, and I just never taken it out of my wallet.
Well,
You
that was
know,
meant to be.
yeah, I guess. You know, and then Japan. I mean, She got a little culture shock in Japan, but she got over it pretty fast.
From what?
She got, we were there long enough.
Hmm.
And I had said to her, we're going to be there 3 weeks. At the end of 3 weeks, you're either going to be agitated or you're going to be depressed, because that usually how culture shock hits you. And she hit that agitation bud,
Yeah.
and so, but it was easy to tease her out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
she was never stuck in something,
Right.
which is nice. She never got stuck. But
Do you
then,
remember? Go ahead.
go ahead.
Do you remember Elaine ever being afraid or scared of anything?
Once we had been in Philadelphia doing a trade show for a computer company out of California, and Hurricane Floyd came.
Mm.
And we were the last flight from Philadelphia to Savannah. And I mean, Marjorie, we were being tossed all which way. And Elaine said to me, "Are we going to die in here?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "I don't think that pilot wants to die any more than we do." And I said, "He'll get us down. You're just going to have to, and it was scary. I mean, that was scary. And I'll tell you a funny story. We were in Panama, and we were flying from, in a little plane, from Panama City to the San Blas Islands, which is over the jungle.
Was that for work?
Huh?
Was that for work?
No, this was a vacation. And she said to me, I had watched them take a carburetor out of one plane and put it in our plane. And so we get on the plane, and Elaine says to me, "There aren't any seatbelts in here." I said, "Big deal." This thing is they're going to wind it up with a rubber band and shoot us across the Darien. And she laughed until God almighty.
No turbulence, hopefully.
Yeah, we had that. That was, that laughter.
Do you remember Elaine ever being very, very sad?
When her father died,
Mm-hmm.
and when George Marshall died,
Mm-hmm.
who was with MOL, and he was really a special guy, very special. But those are the only, and she, I mean, Marjorie, she loved life.
Yeah.
She really wanted to be here and enjoyed every minute of it, and made it pleasant for everybody around her.
Do you think she knew she was going to die at that point?
She said, they wouldn't let me stay because it was, even though she wasn't an ICU patient, they didn't have any more beds at Candler in the pulmonary section. So they put her in ICU, and she asked me to stay, and the charge nurse wouldn't let me. And as I was leaving, she said to me, "I can't see my steps, and I can't see my cats." And I said, Dumbo, I said, well, I'll tell you what, when in the morning, when I go feed the cats, I'll put them on FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
But, but she was gone by 3 o'clock that morning.
Mm. What do you think she meant by that? Just she couldn't see the future?
Yes. And I, if I had been, I have my regrets about that, because had I realized what she was saying, I would have fought to
Yeah.
stay. Um,
Hmm.
I already had regretted not taking her back to Charleston instead of to a hospital here. She got COVID in the hospital in Savannah. That's why they sent her to Charleston. Um,
Was that her official on the
no,
desk? It was COVID? No.
no, she had pulmonary arterial hypertension.
Hmm.
That's a heart and lung thing.
Yeah.
And she had fought so hard in Charleston, and there were some boo-boos made at Candler. They took her off the medicine that Charleston had spent months titrating her own, to the point that I called Charleston and had the doctors call down, not once, but 3 times, saying, give her medicine. Finally, I had to threaten. I had to say, if I don't have a pulmonologist in here in 10 minutes, I'm calling a corporate attorney. And so in walks the pulmonologist, took one look at her and said, give her meds. There's a whole lot there that is real. The problem she had is rare. And unless you're a pulmonologist, you're not going to really understand it, I think. I think that Candler could do with some seminars, maybe pulling the people in from Charleston that know this disease to do so what happened to her doesn't happen to anybody else.
So her farewell was a memorial, I guess you would call it, was in her backyard, and it
Right.
was so unique. Do you have any insights on that? Did she plan it out ahead of time?
She wanted something. She wanted to be sailed from part of her ashes, to be sailed from her house, and the rest to be at the foot of her father's grave. The only thing about that, and I was so numb at that point.
Yeah.
But what I regretted the most was that a lot of people who truly love her and spent a lot of time with her, all the people from Longwater alone,
Yeah.
weren't there. And, that part was kind of sad to me, because she loved what she did and she loved who she did it with. And
She had a huge fan base, that's for sure.
yeah, but a lot of people that I got calls from, truly adored and loved her, and she loved them. You don't work with, that. You don't work with people day in and day out.
Yeah.
They were family.
Yeah.
And that's only part, um, and I was really touched that Patrick Carroll flew in from California.
Who is that?
He was the young man from California that was with me. He had worked for MOL and
Oh,
now works for SAP.
mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I don't care whether I'm invited or not. I'm coming. I said,
Good for all. Yeah,
I
good.
said, come on, please come on. And he did. Um, we had, I'll never forget one time we flew to San Francisco to meet MOL, and two of our friends, one who worked for MOL, put us on their sailboat and took us out into San Francisco Harbor. I mean, San Francisco Bay. I mean, we
Who
stepped
does
on Justin Gansenmiller, and we ended up on Chris's sailboat in the middle of the harbor.
Who does that? Oh my gosh.
We had such a good time. There were things like that all the time.
I know it's been a hard adjustment for you after she died.
It has been, to tell you the truth, I have been so swamped with the estate stuff that I haven't had a chance to.
It's probably good for now.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure she meant it to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just nobody like her.
The good news is we got 1 hour and 37 minutes worth of stories. And I know as soon as I end the live stream, you're going to think of some more, and we can do this again and add it. So just keep it here.
Got a lot of stories. I don't know. They're not necessarily about work,
That's okay. It was part of who Elaine was.
I mean, one time when we were in New York visiting MOL and war terminals and United Arab, the UN was in session. And we had an appointment, so we had to make sure that we left where we were staying before, the UN, because they would get in a line of cars and head for the UN, and it blocked off everything. And so she had gone down first. And so I came down and went to our usual place to meet our driver, and I walk in and into the area, and I'm looking at Al Gore.
Wow.
And a Secret Serviceman comes up to me and said, Miss Contos, you can't be in here. Well, first I was shocked he knew my name.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, I'm trying to find, he said, not today.
Oh, gosh.
He said, do you know who that person is with the vice president? I said, I hadn't got a clue. He said, that's the president of China. I said, oh, okay. So I find Elaine out front, and we just eked out before the UN caravan. I mean, because once they started, it shut down roads and everything else. But we were sitting there. I said, in the hotel with us?
The president of China? Oh my gosh.
Because it was the Waldorf. And let me be real clear about that. My cousin was the manager of the Waldorf. So we would get good rates and stuff. So, they are who handled all that, dignitaries.
My gosh. Oh, Anastasia. This is like fun. Just remembering
her, And we had fun with you,
I love
and
yeah.
And getting your, Elaine was trying to get you off your pearl thing.
The what
Um,
thing?
your pearl.
Oh, uh-oh. These are not really, they're not, that's funny. Actually, I have gotten off of it. I usually am wearing the silver beads. I took them off last night. That's so funny.
Yeah, she said that, I remember her telling me, you don't want to look old. you know,
Yeah,
and all those photographs that y'all took outside that she
yeah.
did.
She
And
did, and
I
that's
had,
the picture
I,
we used for my book.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
She was so instinctive on
hmm
how you stand in the right angle. Yeah, she had the most, she could spot beauty and design. She she knew. Yeah.
and she had a incredible sensitivity to light, how to light
Mhm.
something. Um, One time, and sometime I'll tell you the story about us going in to buy um, deer meat. You know,
What?
we were coming back from Waycross, and a friend of mine had told me I could get deer sausage at this place in Patterson. So we stopped, and I knocked on the door, and the guy came out and he looked at me. He said, "You Jimmy's daughter?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I got your package." So he gave me the um, deer sausage. And then he said to me, "If you want some meat now, you're going to have to go to this place in Jessup." So we pull up at the place in Jessup, and Elaine says, "Well, I'll go in."
Oh no.
Well, they thought he was a federal agent because, it doesn't sound like
Right.
me. Um, she was
What happened?
dressed nines,
As she always was. Yes.
and she came out and she said, "They won't sell it to me." So I went in and I told them who sent me. And they said, "Well, we thought she was a federal agent."
Oh
He
my
said,
God.
"No, she was from New York." And I said, "Well, there you have it."
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, she was incensed. I can't believe they thought they wouldn't sell it to me.
She didn't sound like she was from Savannah.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. Were both of her parents from Savannah?
Hmm. In
What did she
fact, her
that
father
accent?
and one of my uncles were very close friends. They grew, the Jewish community and the Greek community were right next to each other.
Hmm.
And in fact, from my office window in Tatnall Street, I could see where my father proposed to my mother and where my mother was born on Huntington. So, and Elaine's grandparents lived right down the street, and the um, Sheftals lived across the street. So it was a big Greek Jewish
Hmm.
community. They all played basketball together, and et cetera, et cetera. So, you know,
How do you capture that big personality in an article or on a video or on a documentary? It's impossible. I'm sorry for the people that never met Elaine because she was I've never met anybody like Elaine.
mm-mm, either. Um,
And I knew that from the beginning. And I know she must have got tired of me saying, "We need to do a documentary about you." Because and now
well,
it's too late.
she was never stuck on herself ever.
No, but the
She
lesson,
did, but she wasn't.
I know, but just to be able to showcase what a trailblazer she was and the power to just be able to walk into a room and
And it.
I know. I wanted to try and capture that because that you don't run across people like that every day at all, actually.
Not anymore.
Mm,
She had a true zest for life, and she loved people. I mean,
she did. She did. And she was always in the moment when you talked to her. She never was looking at her cell phone I mean, she was really interested in what you were saying and what you were doing. And she would ask questions and you were with her. She wasn't distracted.
mm-mm. I've got a story for you. When she had her second stint, Doctor Hart Hartigan came out of the operating room, and oh, he was furious. And he says to me, I told her she needed to walk. I told her. I looked right at him, and Dickie Stone was with me. And I said, Dr. Hartigan, she walks in your office. She flashes those Elizabeth Taylor eyes at you. She tells you how gorgeous you look and how beautiful your tie is. And you notice that she can't walk. She has a hurt knee.
Yeah.
He looked at me and he just burst out laughing. He said, that's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, she would just, make you feel so important.
Oh, gosh. All right. I want you to start keeping track of any other stories and we'll do this again. But we got almost 2 hours worth of Elaine
I just
on
don't.
here. And I'll say,
Yeah, I think about what Thomas said, that, he talked with her and then she'd come back. She really heard him. She could hear people, not just listen, but really hear them. That's a gift.
and that might have been her superpower on why she was so creative with problem solving too, because she really, really listened, really heard them.
I would, I know this is being recorded and this part I hope is edited out, but I she never saw herself as a great mother, okay? And that's why I really don't want to touch on that part.
We don't have to. Yeah, no, it's going up on YouTube now, so we can just skip that. So, yeah. She had to put a roof over her head.
Well, yes, yes, she did. And, when I've had to deal with the selling of her property and every blade of grass. I mean, she worked her. I mean, she worked. I mean, she was industrious. She wasn't, if there was something going on there that we were creating as a team, she was right in there too. I mean, it wasn't, there was no hierarchy. I mean, I remember her asking me once, she said, did you ever hear me say I'm the boss? I said,
No.
Never
That's a
did.
good thing to include in the article. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but she didn't. Everybody there, from designers to the, receptionists, were part of the team. I mean, we all.
How many people at the height of Longwater were working together?
19.
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
But it was a different industry. The advertising agency was business was different. That's when you had separations and nothing was digital. And I mean, I remember Kitty doing route maps by hand, with Rubylith. And I mean, it was very,
How did you fit everybody at Tatnall Street?
well, we had 619 and 621
Oh, I didn't realize that.
from her mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So they were
then a wall between the two buildings, and so it was double the size. And plus, we were near Forsyth Park. We could have creatives there. It was just nice. I miss being downtown sometimes.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, we were aware of everything that was going on. But
Longwater's still going on, right?
yeah, yes,
Good.
here. And Wes is here, and I'm working with one of her granddaughters. Hopefully, in time, it will go to her. And
Yeah. Oh, I love hearing that.
yeah, that was my, Elaine and I talked about it, and I promised her I'd do that, so I'll do it.
Oh my gosh. I think this video might help just fill in some gaps of just really how great she was and all the things she did.
I wish you could see her photography work. I mean, I said to her over the past 5 years, if I said it once to her, I must have said it 1,000 times. I said, you know what? You spent your entire life promoting other people when the eye is yours. I said, look at all this work. And I'm hoping, I've talked with her daughters about preserving and getting, those negatives printed. And hopefully they'll follow through with that. I'm hoping so anyway.
We used and I know you know better than me, but we used lulu.com to publish my daughter's PhD. I just printed 5 books. I mean, that's all we needed, but it was wonderful. It was 150 pages, and I think they charged me $22 for the hardback. It was great.
And it's called Lulu?
Lulu.com. Yeah. Worked so well. Trying to see if I had one of the books.
Because the thing is, these are negatives, black and white negatives. They're not.
See, I had to upload her PhD as a PDF. It had already been formatted and everything.
Oh, okay.
And it took me 10 minutes. I hit order. Couldn't believe it. I mean, I had to pick color of the book, the hardback and the side. I had to put the name of whatever I wanted on there and what was on the back. But besides that, literally took me 15 minutes. And that's probably what I'm going to do for my mom for just a few books to keep at the library. Yeah.
Well, are you going to keep in your library or give to
the archives where all the work was donated to? I wonder if you could donate to Elaine's work to where Bill Durrance donated all of his work, his photography.
Is it the Atlanta thing that guy in Atlanta has, or a group?
This Bill did it to the city of Savannah.
Oh, I'll ask him.
Ask him, because that might be a good place to put everything, because over the generations, things are going to get lost.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that some of the negatives could be printed, and
Bill could help with that.
Yeah. She's got some stunning photographs.
I'm going to hit the end of the stream because we're over 2 hours, but don't go away. I don't think it's going to hang up. Hold on a second. End stream. Hopefully.